I'm just waiting for the paint to go off so I can colour sand and buff it. In the meantime, I can start looking at a few bits, and there's a rather manky looking steering box down here. We've got to take a look at that. That can be put in, assuming it's okay. Also the pedal box, I've pulled that apart. I've got some new bushes for it. These bushes didn't seem bad at all, but seeing I bought the new ones, I can sort of grease them up and fit them and clean that all up and make it look pretty. Steering column, need to pull this apart and start painting those bits there. I won't show that, I've already shown enough painting. And just check the bearings and everything in it. I've taken the shifter off. And also accessories like this. This is a Fairmont / GT rear courtesy light set, and the thing I don't like about it, it comes with the lenses, these brackets, rivets, globes, everything. But when you put these in, they're a loose fit. And that would be an absolutely shocking earth, and it would flicker and you'd have to knock it for it to come on and all this sort of stuff. So I need to bend these tabs over, and I'm actually going to solder them on in a couple of spots so they stay still. And not just that, if you come to replace a globe and you push the globe in, because it's a bayonet fitting, it's not an Edison screw, what it could do is push that whole receptacle out again, and you'll never get your hand up inside the pillar to get to it, to push it back in. It'll be a pain in the neck. So there's bits and pieces there I need to look at as well. The first couple of parts, 2 grommets and the little studs that hold the heater manifold in, the defroster manifold into the top of the dash. I've also used that snare that I put in to bring the interior light wiring down. I've been fiddling around with a couple of bits from the XW. Here's the brake pedal box. Now I've sort of given it a quick lick of paint, a clean up and a lick of paint, put the pedal back on. That's the wrong spring for it. I've got to find the correct spring of how it fits. That's what came off the car, it's just bent around there. It's got its nice new brake pedal pad on. Also replaced the bushes in here. The lighting's terrible in here at the moment. Very simple, it's just a circlip on the end. Pop the shaft out, there's a wave washer, a spacer, and there's 2 of these bushes here. These are the old ones, they weren't too bad. A little bit thinner than the new ones, so I'll just pop new ones in. You can see I've also been playing around with the wiring loom. This is the wiring loom out of the car. It's all labelled, so I know where everything goes. Just going to put new insulation on it and this sort of stuff, just to make it look a little bit prettier. I've also been starting to lay wiring out in the boot. There it is all on the ground. Very simple, this wiring. They have to feed in behind this plate here, or behind that box where the boot striker plate goes. Sort of clean these bits up now. I haven't repainted. Is it in this side here? I haven't repainted this bottom shell. Under there, yeah, there it is there, 22nd of September 1969. So I've given the external a bit of a spruce up with a little bit of black enamel, but I've left that unpainted in the centre because that's the car's heritage. Now this is where bagging and tagging all comes apart. There's some stuff in there, loads of bags of parts and everything here, and I've had to throw it all in a box, or a lot of it in a box to send to the electroplaters. The important part is when you go to the electroplaters to have an inventory list of exactly what's in the box, so when you get it out, when you get it back, you can check against the list and make sure you bag it back again. Look at that, that's a picture of the poor old thing when I got it. It's looking a bit shabby and worse for wear. Now in every car I've restored, I've always kept a comprehensive list of records and everything of the car, and that tells a bit of information, the dates, all that sort of stuff, a diary of everything I've done. There's quite a bit there. Blue is all bodywork, all the parts I've bought, the dates of the parts I've bought. Red's all the engine parts I bought from my brother off his Mustang. The purple's all the parts that were retained off the original vehicle. All parts I have to buy, all that sort of stuff. Green, I think. Green's the engine, all the engine stuff, so it's all there. Plus a whole lot of receipts. There's a lot of receipts here. There's all the cam specifications. There's a lot of receipts here that I haven't got because it's online stuff that I haven't printed receipts out for. Now that's a list there. That's the list I was telling you about of all the stuff that's gone to the electroplaters, and there's hundreds of bolts and all sorts of clips, all sorts of stuff there, so I can check against that list when I get everything back. Right, but you can see I've come back from the electroplaters. This really was a dirty looking bucket of stuff. I've plated these. I didn't want these plated, I just wanted them stripped so I could paint them. They're very difficult to sand, but they've done those as well. Lots and lots of bits and pieces here. In fact, bolts like this sell at normally $2 each. These are the old ones, you wouldn't even tell they're old. And yeah, look, there's something like 45 of those in there anyway. So there's hundreds of bits and pieces in here, and the whole lot was about $100. Now, some of the door locks have very small springs in. There's quite a harsh acid bath that they go through, and there's some fine springs in the back locks, and this is one of them. I can't remember where the spring goes, which I've been advised to take out because they do break quite easily. So I bought a new container of sandwich bags. We're going to bag and tag the stuff that's not going to be put on the car for a while. So door related stuff, hardware and bits and pieces will be bagged and tagged. You know, I know what that is. That's obviously a bonnet latch, and there's the spring for it. But some stuff won't go onto the car for a little while yet. There's the boot lock and, you know, other bits and pieces. So some will be bagged, but some of it won't. So I've got to put these springs back in the door locks. I've got them sort of still sitting here. There are a few odds and ends that can go onto the car just to keep them out of the way for now. All of the other bits and pieces that were electroplated are all bagged now. I've gone through the list and I've got them all in bags and they're labelled. One or two shiny bits can go on the car. They have to be painted black and lock washers putting onto there, but this has just got them out the way for now. So it looks quite smart there. I don't want them gold though. Oh. It doesn't hurt when you're fitting hardware after it's been painted, everything's been painted, just to run a tap through. This is a 5/16 course. A lot of this car does use quarter and 5/16 course, bit of 3/8 as well. The only quarter-inch fine I've seen is on the heater box itself, the brackets, the studs that hold the heater box on. So I'll just snug that down a little bit, not terribly tight because the door's yet to go on. Now, when these get electroplated, there's a few springs that need to come out. Each one has one of these long wound springs, but more importantly is this little lock detent spring. Now, if you get these electroplated with these in, they'll break. And the reason for that is the acid bath is really quite strong. Now, these fit in here, and there's a leg poking out there and one around the other side. And that gives it its detent for the actual lock. And they're quite fiddly. There's the long spring there, and that gives it the spring-loaded sort of, it holds up that spring-loaded foot there, so that when it's in the lock position, that foot will slide past like that. This is all stiff and it has to be lubricated, so I've got to put these springs in, and they're quite tricky, and I can't really see very well in this light, but we need to get one leg of it over here and the other one in through that hole, and the whole spring has to sit inside that cavity there. And the easiest way is to get that first one in and then push this down past here. That's got it. Okay, that's good. Now I've got to get this one on. I always get this mixed up too. There's a, yeah, it goes in through there. There's a little hole here that goes through there, and that wraps around this and then goes up into a hole up in there. So it's quite tricky. And so this spring hooks around here, goes up through there, that holds this foot up, so that when you operate the door, that's in the lock position, and because of this other spring, throws the detent, and then it's able to push down on that lever there, which opens the door. That's opening the door. That's the door locked, and that's how you open the door, by pushing that down, and the lock mechanism just throws the shoe into its path, or it makes sure it's missing it. But I think that spring seems long. I hope I've got the right spring in that side. I'll check the other. Now, the V8 cars used a different accelerator rod, and it comes out here just like the 6-cylinder one. I think it goes through, and there's a bracket there where those dimples are, and sort of has an arm coming up with levers coming off. I don't really want to do that because people ask stupid money for those things, and so I'm going to use a cable type arrangement. Now, a lot of people put cable type accelerators on and drill a hole down here, but there's a sort of a bend there. There's a plate that's been welded in there before or pressed in there when the car was new. I don't know what that's for, but there's a hole here for the choke cable to come through. Now, all the 6-cylinder cars used a manual choke, and I'm keeping this true to a V8 car, and rather than the choke they have this lovely badge that sits in the dash. So I'm mucking around with this. Now this is an X, I don't know if you can see there, is that better? This is an XA to XC type pedal. XDs might use the same sort of thing as well, and it's sat too low, so I've cut it. Can't get the right diameter metal, so I'm just turning this out with a 11mm drill bit. I just want to make sure that's the right size for the accelerator pedal. And then sort of put it over and brazed it on. Now, this gives it the right height, it's at the right angle. It means I don't have to cut any other extra holes, and I'll just fill up the original one with a grommet. But we need to get that angle dead right. Now, some people complain that cables break. Now, I've been driving V8 Fords in one guise or another for 30 years and I've never broken one. The only damage I've seen on one was the plastic nut on the carburetor with fatigue. It broke when I was removing a carburetor from one, but that wasn't the fault of the cable, that was my fault. And so we just have to put a little pilot hole under there for the cable to be secured, but that'll work well. I'll take it off and paint it, and there's a little clip that goes over the top to secure the cable, but I reckon that might be the way to go. If it doesn't work or if it turns out being troublesome, I'll just source the right part, I suppose, but I think we'll be alright with that. Okay, these are the rear courtesy lights. I've soldered in. Look, I'm probably not breaking new ground. I think they're supposed to be bent over anyway. They're lovely and tight. And I've also soldered in 2 spots to keep that from shifting around. So we can change globes without it popping out and all that sort of stuff. Nice good earth. Checked it with the car battery. We're good to go. I've also soldered on 2 lead wires to this one. Now this earth through the body of the car, and this is its positive feed. Now, I always use, you should use heat shrink tubing, I guess. I've used electrical tape, and even electrical tape, you want to get the good stuff. This is the Nitto stuff, not the 5 different coloured rolls for 99 cents. One of these goes off to the other side, courtesy light, one off to the interior light for its feed. And you have to be careful of that because some interior lights are actually a constant feed with a switched earth. In this case, they're switched power. Got the interior lights working, and it's not bad. Just checking those out just to make sure that everything works properly before you put the headlining in. Just before I'm about to pull the rear axle out. Just before I did, I've sort of wanted to take the axle out and check the wheel bearings. That feels really, really good actually. Good idea to pull these out when they're in the car so you can use the wheel as a slide hammer by just putting the studs on loosely and shocking it off like that, sort of pulling it back sharply. That's really good, I'm happy with that. I'll take all these off and, you know, clean everything up and get it ready for reassembly. Pulled the lid off the steering box and I'm pretty disappointed it's worn. Also a bit ratchety in its movement, so I'm going to have to get that overhauled. And also the rear shackles are absolutely fried, so I'm going to have to get more of those. So more new parts on the agenda. Here are the axles. To be expected, one of them's knackered. One felt pretty good, but I still wanted to replace both of them, so I'll do them as a pair. One of them's damaged anyway. So all the rear looms in now. I'm just going to put a couple of little stay clips there for the top where the top of the loom runs through. It's all covered up with these little loom covers on the channels there. There's the There's the rear loom there, all labelled up, ready to be connected with the front one. Haven't got the front one in because I've got to get the insulation for in here. I can't do anything until I've got that insulation in. There we go, accelerator pedals in, just got to make that spring look a bit nicer. It's all painted up, moves beautifully. Still might be a bit of a temporary affair, this one, I'm not really sure. Just see how it goes. Might have to buy the correct item, not really sure. Just really looking forward to putting that in. Really need to get that in the car soon. Before I put that in, I've got to get the transmission looked at though. I've rebuilt my own C4 transmissions in the past. That's about 20 years ago now. But in here I haven't got the room, and also it's nowhere near clean enough. So I'll give it to another guy to do. Some of the parts I've put on prematurely just to get them out of the house. This is just sitting here. It's just the dash pad, obviously. It's sort of sitting up at the moment. It's been in the study for a while. I wanted to get it off the floor. Obviously, when we come to colour sand, we don't want dirty water and all that sort of stuff falling on it. I'm just going to probably take it out, but I'll just run a plastic curtain up from under here, falling off to the floor through there, just so when I'm wet sanding it, none of the water gets on all the nice stuff. But this is something I've had to do because we're sick and tired of parts in the study and in the bedroom as well. So that's all I'm going to do for now, for this video. I'll upload another one later. It won't be for a little while now because I've got to get underneath and do my least favourite job and do the deadener and everything all under here. It doesn't look very nice under there. It's clean. The first half's clean, but the second half isn't, so that's got to be done. And then also all in here, got to pour 15, all that. Hate doing that sort of stuff. Then I can start laying brake lines. I'm still waiting on the bracket for the booster. I've got the wrong bracket for the PBR booster. I need an XY one, not an XW one. And once I've got the booster there, then I can start mocking up lines and all this sort of other stuff. Once the lines are in, and I've got the transmission back and put the engine in, but that might not be for a good few weeks yet. Righto then, see you later.